Real-life exorcisms and the people that do them. With the premiere of the new TV show Exorcist, there has been a renewed interest in real-life exorcism. Here are a few well-known ones and the people that do them, just in case you need to know. William Friedkin sent theater-goers running for their rosaries with his 1973 classic about a little girl possessed by a sadistic spirit. The Exorcist is fiction, of course, but the film's terror is based on the actual demonic happenings that plagued a 14-year-old boy named Robbie Mannheim. Dubbed Roland Doe at the time to protect his privacy, Roland reportedly became possessed by a malevolent entity in Cottage City, Maryland, in the late 1940s after trying to contact his late aunt with the help of a Ouija board. Once under the influence, the boy levitated and spoke in tongues. Priests were summoned. After more than 30 rituals, and a move to Missouri, Doe was finally relieved of his otherworldly visitors. He even returned to normal life, just like Friedkin's Reagan. The Smurl family case represents one of the most highly publicized and scrutinized exorcism cases to date. In 1974, Jack and Janet Smurl say a malevolent presence possessed their West Pittston, Pennsylvania home, emitting foul-smelling odors. It also threw the family dog against the wall, pushed the Smurl children down the stairs, and sexually and physically assaulted Jack. Their story caught the attention of paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who deemed the house disturbed by a very powerful demon. While exorcisms were performed, none seemed to work. Janet claimed the demon moved through the walls of their double-block home during such procedures. In 1986, after several holy blessings and prayers on the part of the Smurls, the forces finally subsided, although Janet was still alleging spirit encounters in 1987. The Anna Eckland exorcism case can be traced back to a pamphlet from 1936 called Begone Satan, a soul-stirring account of diabolical possession in Iowa. Father Carl Vogel penned the document, which centers on a devout Catholic from the American Midwest named Anna Eckland. Anna's caretakers reportedly cursed her in 1908 by slipping magical herbs into her food. When Anna was around 14 years old, she began showing signs of demonic possession. She would speak in tongues and strange guttural voices, she'd levitate and cling to the walls of her bedroom. Her first exorcism was performed in 1912, which brought relief, but for only a short time. She then became possessed again, this time by multiple demons. The case culminated in 3 exorcisms conducted at a convent in Illing, Iowa at the end of 1928, which reportedly cured Anna of her troubles. Born in 1952 West Germany, Analise Michelle had a history of mental illness and suffered from epilepsy. In 1973, at age 20, her symptoms took a turn for the worse. She grew depressed and acted aggressive, she rejected religious iconography, spoke of demonic visions, and heard voices damning her to hell. Annalise's parents were convinced she was possessed. Enter Joseph Stangl, a Catholic bishop who authorized an exorcism on the young woman. Nearly 70 rituals were performed between 1975 and 1976, ultimately leading to Annalise's death. An autopsy report concluded that Annalise died of malnutrition and dehydration as a direct result of the exorcisms. In a highly publicized trial, Annalise's parents and those Catholic officials responsible were convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 6 months in jail. The infamous case inspired the courtroom horror The Exorcism of Emily Rose from 2005. Michael and Christine Taylor were a religious couple from the quiet English town of Ossett. In 1974, Christine accused her husband of having an affair with the leader of their prayer group. The accusation enraged Michael. He yelled obscenities and acted erratic. When his behavior intensified, Anglican priests decided to purge the man of his demons. The exorcism lasted all night long, exhausting the priests. While they claimed to have freed Michael from more than 40 demons, they also believed that some forces remained within him. Perhaps they were right. Soon after the exorcism was over, Michael returned home and murdered his wife and poodle, then roamed the streets soaked in blood until he was arrested. Clara Germana Seal was a 16-year-old orphan girl from Natal, South Africa. In 1906, she began exhibiting odd behavior. She spoke and understood languages that were previously unknown to her and became a sort of soothsayer who knew things about people she'd never met. Witnesses said she exuded superhuman strength and could levitate. They also described her voice as twisting into the tone of a veritable herd of wild beasts orchestrated by Satan. Later, Seal confessed that she had made a pact with Satan and handed over her body to him. A 2-day exorcism was performed, after which the evil was seemingly expunged. Dr. Richard Gallagher is board-certified psychiatrist and associate professor of clinical psychiatry at New York Medical College. In 2008, he diagnosed his patient, whom he calls Julia, as suffering demonic possession. Gallagher claimed that his patient, who had a long history with satanic groups, would go into a trance-like state as he and others performed religious prayers and invocations. She also spoke in foreign tongues and growled in strange voices, yelling things like "Leave, you imbecile priest." Dr. Gallagher, also a delegate to the International Association of Exorcists, published his account in the New Oxford Review. If you've seen The Conjuring, then you're familiar with the freaky case of the Peron family. Their real-life horror story began in 1970, when they moved into a quaint Rhode Island house they thought would be their dream home. The family encountered eerie activity soon after settling in. They heard strange sounds, were pulled from their beds at night, and witnessed the ghost of a woman who hanged herself from the bedroom ceiling. Carolyn received the harshest treatment. The mother was poked and prodded by what she described as a needle. When the family still wouldn't leave, Carolyn was possessed. Distraught, the parents contacted paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who claimed to uncover the home's sinister secrets. The property had reportedly seen its fair share of crimes and suicides, including a supposed witch who had sacrificed her child to the devil. While spiritual cleanses were performed, they did little to curb the activity. In 1980, the family sold the house and fled to Georgia. The evil reportedly followed the parents southward, though it was less severe than what they encountered in Rhode Island. Now for the men and women who handle this type of thing. Father Gabriel Amorth is the Roman Catholic Church's most prolific exorcist, reportedly performing the ritual over 100,000 times. You might think it would take hundreds of years to rack up stats like that, but you have to realize two things about exorcisms. First, an exorcism can take less than an hour. Second, in some instances, it is administered to hundreds of people at a time. Amorth, now 88 years young, claims to have performed a whopping 20 exorcisms a day at the height of his career, though he has now cut it back to a leisurely 4. Amorth is the founder of the International Association of Exorcists and has been an ordained exorcist since June 1986. He has given countless interviews on the subject and written half a dozen books on the subject, all widely available on the web. Amorth has claimed that the Church's recent sex abuse scandals and the past assassination attempt of Pope John Paul II are evidence of the devil's grip on modern society. He also deems Harry Potter to be Satanist propaganda. His favorite film is Friedkin's The Exorcist. This guy really liked to exorcise. The practice of exorcising demons from individuals is not confined solely to Roman Catholicism or the Western world. It is performed all around the world by every major religion. Buddhism, Islam, Judaism, and Hinduism all practice their own forms of exorcism. For instance, Hinduism uses mantras instead of prayers. In Islam, the possessed is healed from the damage, both spiritual and physical, done by the entity who has possessed them. Buddhism sees the invading force as one that is not inherently evil or negative. Rather, the demon is it itself adversely affected by being trapped in a human being. According to Shen Xian, chief editor of the web and library departments at Singapore's Kong Meng San For Kark Si Monastery, Buddhist exorcism aims for win-win situations for the involved human and spirit who are seen as two parties negatively affected by grudges that require peaceful negotiation. All Roman Catholic exorcisms are administered based on the Roman exorcism ritual. Priests must wear specialized purple vestments and use a blessed crucifix and a steady supply of holy water. First, the priest kneels and repeats a prayer known as the Litany of the Saints, which is a very long list of saints and an appeal to each of them. The priest recites numerous psalms and readings from the Gospels. Then comes the exorcism itself. The main prayer speaks to the demon, ordering it to leave the body in which it is dwelling. It features such colorful lines as, "Depart, seducer, full of lies and cunning, foe of virtue, persecutor of the innocent. Give place, abominable creature, give way, you monster, give way to Christ." A few more prayers and a lot of holy water later, and the demon is gone. One of history's first famous exorcists was a bearded fellow a few thousand years ago whom you may know as Jesus Christ. Although earlier civilizations, such as the Egyptians and Babylonians, had exorcists, none of them got such individual recognition as Jesus. The first mention of Jesus expelling an unclean spirit happens in a synagogue in the book of Mark. However, the most startling display of the age-old practice occurs later. Jesus comes upon a wild man in the hills who cut himself with stones and was unable to be shackled by conventional means. The man is said to be possessed by not one demon, but many, who are legion. In a handy piece of trade, Jesus transports the invading devils into the bodies of a few hundred nearby pigs. The 200 swine then proceed to commit mass suicide by running into the sea, thus saving the soul of the wild caveman. Is there any science behind this? According to the Christian perspective, the most common signs of possession include superhuman strength, speaking languages the possessed does not know, limb contortion, and premonitions or clairvoyance. Superhuman strength is easily explained. When we feel fear, our bodies produce excess adrenaline. The adrenal glands pump cortisol and adrenaline into our blood, which supplies muscles with more oxygen, thus releasing more energy. Seemingly superhuman feats are a simple, yet amazing, biological response. Limb contortion, too, can be explained through biology. All our limbs can bend and twist in a variety of ways. We're just not accustomed to seeing it, so it seems abnormal. Knowledge of foreign languages can be explained by looking at how memories are stored. The brain picks up background noises and stores information subconsciously. This phenomenon is known as xenoglossia and has been studied in significant depth. Even precognition has recently seen support from some scientists from Cornell, but those waters are a lot murkier. In any case, I will just watch TV. Stay paranoid, my friends.